Hello, my name is Craig Tarwater, and I'd like to welcome you to this video school of guitar production entitled How to Play Great R&B Guitar. This is the last in this series, Level 3. Today what we're going to be concentrating on very heavily is as many licks and tricks to do with chord triads from major and minor chords, dominant chords, which are your 7ths, your 9ths, and your 13th chords. And we're also going to be concentrating very heavily on the Mixolydian mode, which is basically do, re, mi, your major scale, diatonic scale, whatever you prefer to call it, with the 7th note dropped down 1/2 step. This is very influential in good R&B. We'll also be illustrating at all times when we get involved in the Mixolydian mode the chromatic ties between the notes in the Mixolydian mode. So basically we're just playing a major scale when we get into that part of it, except the 7th note, which is one of the sweet tones in major keys, but in dominant it has to be dropped down 1/2 step, dominant being 7ths, 9ths, and 13ths. We'll be showing you some things about arpeggios as well. Before we get started with our tune-up note, I want to show you these 3 books briefly that I recommend very highly. Because if you're having situations where you cannot play on parts of the guitar, or you're having problems with boredom and repetition, then you need to get over that, and you need to get some serious knowledge of the fingerboard. You need to visualize the fingerboard so that you can play effortlessly, so you can use your stored music in your mind that you've been accumulating, the stuff you hum when you're in the shower and driving your car. You've got to get that stuff out onto the guitar, and this is one way to help. This is Fretboard Logic, the original version. This deals with the pentatonic scales and the chord shapes of major and minor. This is Fretboard Logic 2. This deals with the diatonic scales, the arpeggios, and a little more sophisticated chords such as major 7ths and minor 7ths. Okay? And then last but not least is Fretboard Logic 3. This is the creative overview. In fact, this is entitled Applications, Creative and Analytical. And it's 145 pages, so it's something you can keep around for many years. All right? Great. Let's have a tune-up note. This will be an A 5th string. One more time. All right. Now, what we like to do is tell you about the changes in this little song that we're going to use, which is basically G dominant, or G7, G9, and it moves up to B flat 7, B flat 9, and then it moves up one more time to C7, C9. Okay? And then it starts all over again. So, what we want to probably do for sure is show you a close-up. So watch my left hand, and I will show you the G9 chord that resides right here. If I turn up my volume, you'll be able to hear it even. Okay, now, in the particular song that we're doing, you'll hear the rhythm guitar playing up high around the 10th fret. Okay, but here's another thing that you can do, and there's must be a ton of licks you can steal right out of this chord shape. So we can kind of mix things for you today. We can show you a bit of the mode process along with this chord and some of the other chords in this vicinity. So we have a G note, an open second string, B, an A note, that's the 9th, and we have an F note, okay? So one of the first tricks we have that we can do, even just on the first 2 strings, is okay, so the object there being that we do have a Mixolydian mode right there. Okay, and we also have 2 triads, a D minor triad and an E minor triad. Okay, so let's just look at the mode just to be sure we know the notes. The primary thing we're not going to be using is an F sharp. Otherwise, we've got a G major scale. So, in essence, then we have completely natural notes. We have not a single accidental, or in other words, a sharp or flat named note. So, descending from G, we have G, F, E, D. We're going right down the musical alphabet. C, B, A, G. F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, to an E. Okay, so let's just look at that with just these 2 triads, and we'll try that little example just in G. Also, I might point out, while we're in this area, that we also have to convert our mode when it goes to the B flat 7 chord to the Mixolydian mode for B flat 7, okay, which that's an E flat major scale. So let's just take a look at that while we're here. We have a flat, G, F, E flat, D, C, B. Okay, at that point it begins to repeat itself. A flat, G, F, E flat, D, C, B flat, there's our A flat, G, and F. Okay. Now, since the song moves up chordally, pattern-wise, from B flat to C, then we need to look at the C Mixolydian mode. And all that is an F major scale. So let's look at it while we're there. We have G, F, E, D, C, B flat, A, G, we're repeating now, F, E, D, C, B flat, A, G, F. Now we can't use that, can we? We have to have an A flat. I'm sorry, an E flat. No, we can use the E. As usual, I make a couple of errors once in a while in these tapes, and we permit it because I'm a human. Okay, let's go ahead and try this. We're going to do this, and we're going to go through the song for a little while, and we're just going to play little snippets of the modes, the three modes.
2, 1, 2, 3.
Switch to your B flat Mixolydian mode now. Now to your C. Back to your G. We have the mode up here too. The hardest thing to teach is the rhythm. Let's just take a quick look at a couple of things here. Now, we can blend all three of the modes around all of these positions if we start realizing the shapes that we're involved in. Okay, so let's take a look at a combination of shapes, and we'll go through this combination of shapes with G7. Then we'll do a combination of shapes of B7, and then a combination of shapes of C7. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take from a high B here at the 7th fret, we're going to cross from this to this shape. Okay, now we can go back up. We're kind of moving diagonally. So we go we can go anywhere we want as long as we know the sound of the notes, and we're used to seeing at least 3 notes on a string of this proper scale. So once again, we are playing in G Mixolydian, we're playing C major scale. So we can go F, G, E, B, C, D, but we can also go F, G, A, C, D, E, okay, and we can look at every single thing that I'm showing you with extreme interest. We have a 3-note G7 chord that is extremely handy for rhythm and blues type work. And when it's fingered this way, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, That allows us to use the pinky for the on and off again syndrome of playing the G7 to a G7 sus. So we wind up with and then we have a section of our pentatonic arpeggio right there. And we can use ninths, which would be A's instead of B flats. We can use sixths, which would be E's instead of F's. So we can go we just need to listen for the tones that sound good with nine times out of 10, the good sounding tones will be the C major scale notes in this particular example because they all fit. Let me explain why that's so you can have some conviction about this. We have an A, which is the ninth. We have a G, which is the 1, because we're dealing with G7. We have an F. That's also one of the critical tones in the G7 chord. We have an E. That's the 13th, or the 6th. Okay, look at that little lick there. We want to make sure that I try to show you as many of these licks because they're so useful if you learn them. They work so well. Okay, so we have an E, G, B, down to A, F to E, back to F, to G. So we repeat the first half of that. So we're going then we run up from the B to the C, and we have a descending D minor 7 arpeggio is what we're playing. C, A, F, D. That can drop down to a C, to a B. So watch this. Let's go ahead and just try that and see how it works, all right?
2, 1, 2, 3.
At that point, we'd have to do a G minor 7. At this point, we'd have to do an A minor 7, descending arpeggios. Otherwise, the figures are the same. So, for instance, now we'll try it on the same group of strings, okay, which would be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings. I'm going to move up on these strings, so watch me. And then right here, we're in a C sort of a shape to be able to play right again, right off the top, right with the G, okay? So watch. sequences of the scale, right? So we're going. I call little things like this Stevie Wonder harmonica licks. That's where I learned them from. I didn't learn them from a guitar player. Okay, let's concentrate on our chord triads a little bit. We have part of an F triad right here to an E minor triad. This is an A flat triad to a G minor triad. B flat to A minor. Okay, we'll just pause here for a second. Now, so we have a F triad. We slide that up. So these fingers are at the 8th fret, and then we have a B flat triad. And we go down to a D minor or G minor triad. Now I use funny fingering because for me it's a lot easier to have this finger suspended for use to come back down on a last 3-finger triad than it is to do something like this and have to go through that kind of monkey motion. That's what you want to avoid when you're learning to play guitar well, accurately. Look at, there's a minimum of motion. The fingers are just going up and down. They're working like piano keys, like the hammers inside of a piano. This is dumb. That's like stupid. This is cool. Cool. You've probably seen that on MTV. Okay, anyhow, then this is the same way. Okay, let's back out the camera a little bit and we'll check out my fingering shapes for this G7, that'll do right there, for the G7 Mixolydian mode. Now pay real close attention to this, okay? We have then I'm just zigzagging to make it interesting. Also, lines and melodies come out of that. This is essentially 1 octave higher than the one we were starting with. It's just that the first finger is doing all of the work that was previously being done by your finger nut, and that's what they call that technically. I didn't know that. In this guitar, it's a locking nut. Okay, so now we have a number of things here we can show you, and you can probably see my hands in action. I'm a great fan of alternating picking, cross picking. I've heard the word. I'm not sure if that's what they mean, but I think it is. And it doesn't matter how many strings that I jump. If I go, I still went down, up, down. That's stuff you have to learn how to do. You just practice it. Practice makes perfect. Don't ever forget that. Okay, so anyhow, we have a lot of little triads here. Let's try and put them together for this song. We'll just turn the band around and make them start over again. They'll be here in a second, by the way. Okay, so we have or that's a triad. It's an F major triad, F major 7 triad, and it becomes a sus for the G7. So it's actually like a sus 13. And sometimes those numbers might be confusing even for you guys at level 3. So essentially, if they are confusing, don't worry about it. Just play an F major 7 triad with the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. Okay? And you'll be in great shape. And you can also do it like this. Let's see if that works with our band.
2, 1, 2, 3.
It does if you play off the other guitar player. Try that again. You try it. I'll walk you through it. It's just how you do it rhythmically. That has a lot to do with it. This is truly the essence of R&B, the rhythm. Otherwise, we're just playing blues. Try that figure again. Okay, now we'll dump the band for a minute. Let's discuss potentially having the nerve to harmonize in thirds the entire Mixolydian mode in G7 and make all of those little patterns movable up to B7, B flat 7, I'm sorry, and C7. So we'll close up a little bit on my left hand and give you a little bit closer view, and you just check it out, okay? So what we have here is now that's pretty muddy sounding down there that low. But if you were using a rhythm tone and doing something like George Benson might do, and he's a master of rhythm and blues guitar, a past master, one of my greatest influences. Anyhow, you might not want to be too muddy sounding, so you could use that more for like this kind of thing. But you need to know it's there. You might also have a thin sound where you could go. You need to look at the fact that that kind of stuff is there. Okay? Now, you might say, well, fine, then do I have to slide up the neck every time and go? The answer is no, you don't have to. The B flat 7 chord can be harmonized. Now that one, that's as low as you can go. You can't go because you don't have an A flat down here. It's not there. Okay. The same with the C7. Down in an F major at that point. Okay, now those are things you just need to practice with. I think another thing, in case some of you don't know these things, we should probably address them at this time. The G13 chord, also written for some guitars in some guitar publications as a G7/6. Okay, but I have the A on top, which makes it sort of a G, excuse me, a G9. So there's a G9, that's a G7/6, G13, G9. Very good. That's a nice break for a second there for us in the studio here. Now, if you'll just pay attention, we're going to investigate and explore the dominant chords, continuing where we left off. So watch my left hand, and there you have it. Okay? Now, that was a G7/6 or G13 with an A on top, which is the 9th. Okay? So we have G9. We can also play a G9 this way too. Or we can use it like I do. That third finger is doing nothing. I can take it out of there if you don't believe me. But at any rate, that's a G9. Okay, now, there's a couple of things that happen if you use this G9, which is a B minor 7 flat 5 also. Okay, so we can do this kind of a little rhythm figure. So we're doing a G9. Okay, that's one of the things that happens. Now, Then we have, and all we're playing here, this is for the B flat 7. We're playing open 4th string, bar across the 3rd and 2nd, and then use the 1st string right there on the G note. So we have, that in essence is a B flat 13 chord. So it's still quite dominant. And then we can use the 1st finger on the E note there, 2nd finger across the 2nd and 3rd strings, and then the pinky and this loose canon, the 4th or the 3rd finger, that's going to be used for, doesn't have to be, you can also I do that both ways sometimes. I might point that out. I have extremely unorthodox fingerings. That's because I have unorthodox fingers. So anyhow, with all of those particular items in use, let's go ahead and try to play along with the band, and we will have me play for a little bit, and then I'll lay out and you play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch out for bass lines. Okay, you play, and I'll just play some fills. Okay, try it again. You can use the D7 with the sharp 9 for your 5 chord. Let's try some harmonies now. Okay, your turn. These are suggestions, by the way. Okay, now we'll stop those guys for a minute, and I'd like to show you some little chromatic tricks to use to spice up your Mixolydian mode, okay? And basically, you need to train your fingers when you play the mode. Let's say in this particular position here, where we will descend from an A. Then we need to shift the hand 1 fret. Okay, now if we first we'll descend, and we'll show you some chromatic tricks. And when I say tricks, I use that word with a little more gravity than a lot of people who make these videos. I'm telling you this is useful tools, okay? And they're more than just tricks, but tricks is a good description for them at this time. Okay, here we go. So we have okay, let's look at that riff again. Now let's look at it in context with a little rhythm. See, anytime you have a situation where all 4 fingers can do the old that's a very good situation to use a string of notes to sound like a blinding blur whiz kid. However, you have to just be cautious that you state the tones of the mode that you wish to use. I'm stating that tone, da, and that tone, that tone, that tone. So these 2 notes are just little flitting things. They just go whoosh and run right by. Okay, then, continuing on, we can go right on down the mode. Now we can do another thing where we reverse direction. So we're going because that's a chromatic tone. So we have I'm sure you've heard that on some kind of recording somewhere. And if you haven't, just listen to some of the modern things that are heavily R&B influenced and you'll see. Okay, so we'll go over this very slowly to make sure you got this part. Notice I'm not using my first finger. That's okay. If you don't use your pinky well, we can show you a modification where you go. You just have to shift the hand a little earlier, right there. A lot of times I go back and forth between that type of fingering and the fingering that I first started showing you, which was this. I like to be able to play with my last 3 fingers because they're there, so I might as well use them. Okay, anyhow, so we can continue our descending chromatic line. And then this time we sneak in just the tidbit of an arpeggio. But we hardly use any of it. So we have I guess one thing I should let you know is that when you're playing Mixolydian, in this case G, G7, you can use almost anything from D minor to go against it. They seem to work like brothers and sisters. Well, maybe I should take that back. Brothers and sisters don't always work so well. They work like a good husband and wife team. Okay, so anyhow, we'll descend our chromatic line a little bit further here. Let's try those chromatic lines at that point. That's low enough for now. Let's try them with our band. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all what you do rhythmically. The notes will take care of themselves. That was a little lame right there, but okay, let's try moving out of the G7 to the B flat 7 and the C7 when they come. We'll just stop right there. Okay, for B flat 7, B9, B flat 9. And here's our Mixolydian scale pattern in that region. Okay, so we can do that. Notice that that's F minor arpeggio descending. Okay, so we have that's probably the neatest lick I'll show you on the whole darn tape. I think it's neat, and I just came up with it. Okay, I'll try and play that in context. Easier to do if I play it with the band, so we'll start. I'll just back them up a hair here, and we'll go right in. Those kind of things work great while you're sorting this stuff out. You can just play. Let's look at our triads for a little bit. All right, now we're going to go ahead and go into a little bit different type of song, and I'm going to teach you a few things about the jazzy side of R&B, okay? So I think what would be pertinent is I'll show you the scale chords as they exist, most defined in the key of E. Okay, beautiful. So what we have here is an E major 7, its related minor, which is a C sharp minor 7, and I'm playing the inside 4 strings with my pick. Okay. There I'm playing the top 5 strings, or the bottom 5 strings if you think from the bass. I say top because of right here. Okay, so there's a real pretty chord too. That was an F sharp minor 7, by the way, and this is a B9 sus. It's a straight bar across the inside 4 strings. So and you can do that too, where you go, or however your fingers work. You can even do that. That's a B flat 9. You can use just the 9 chord too if you want, the way a lot of you may know it. Now, since we're heavily involved with an E major scale, then we should show you some things that are very artful about the arpeggios. Okay, and in essence, that's an E major 9 arpeggio. Here's another good way. That is a C sharp minor 9 arpeggio. Okay, so we have E major 9, C sharp minor 9, and that's an F sharp minor 9. Then this is just a trick. But it's good sound, useful knowledge too. Another thing you can do at this point is to play a C melodic minor scale too. That works real good for the turnaround on dominant chords. It's like you're going. I'm sorry. So the real quick legato use of a C melodic minor, which is C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and B, and then to the octave. You can continue. You don't want a B flat. I made a mistake there. You want a B. Okay, let's try that and see how that works. In combination with your scales and arpeggios, you have a host of ideas you can use on this, and you can sound like my favorite guy, George. You try it. See how the scale works? Well, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed that immensely and that you've been able to learn something from it. And this is the last tape on Rhythm and Blues, Level 3. If you have further questions or you're in need of further instruction, I invite you to write to me, Craig Tarwater, at Video School of Guitar, Post Office Box 129, Walla Walla, Washington, zip code 99362. Okay? So at the end of this, I'll disappear from view and you can play out with this song. I'll just play a little bit, and then when I'm gone, it's all yours. Okay? Thank you very much, and bye for now.